What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Meme Ranch. We've got an idea to lay on you. A bit of a meme, you would say. What is it, Xfala?
I mean, this is the American vibe check. I call it an election, but you know what? We're
American
talking
Vibe Check or American Vibe Shift?
whatever. I mean, a vibe check is the election, so I'm saying it's kind of the vibe shift was the election, the result of it. And I'm just saying that memes are shared culture, and the idea that this idea of a vibe shift is showing up on Asmongold TV. It's showing up on Vice as a documentary, and it's showing up on Charlie Kirk's channel. Just says something to me. It's something to pay attention to. So let's dive into it.
I wanted to talk to you all about what I believe to be probably the biggest cultural shift that we have ever seen, if you're anywhere around my age, except for maybe September 11th. I think that this cultural shift has been observed now for about 2 to 3 years, and when it really was codified as like, yeah, this is happening, it's when Trump won the U.S. election. And now in the aftermath of that, I think that you can very clearly see people are emboldened by that, they're galvanized by it, and people are much more willing to share their viewpoints on things that have been much more conservative, much more traditional than what I think a lot of people would, expect or maybe have you believe. And so I want to talk today about why that actually happened, why I think it happened, and where the culture is going to be going from this perspective, right, from this direction. And so anyway, the first thing you have to do in order to explain where it's going to go is to explain where it came from. So the reason why I think a lot of this happened, and we've had a shift, and before I do that, I'll also explain where I think the shift is coming from. I think that we are shifting away from a more censorship heavy, a more, censored speech heavy, compelled speech heavy, and I think that you're seeing a lot of backlash against, what were considered to be like, protected types of thinking and protected groups of people. You're seeing a tremendous amount of backlash against it. And I think this is mainly evident.
Is this whole conversation moot because we're already there? Like, it's kind of like someone points out that, a person who's been at the party is there at the party, and someone says over to you like, dude, that guy's been here the whole time, you just now noticed that he's here. I don't know, that's a weird example, but it's like, people are talking about this right now as if it's like, something that you can finally admit or something. I guess there is some truth to that, because he's saying that the Trump re-election sort of encapsulates this, or it really cements that there was a vibe shift.
Yes, so I just think it's a different conversation. And if we're going to look at Asmongold, I think he's a very mainstream dude. You're not going to see anything cutting edge on his channel. Maybe if it pertains to gaming. But as far as like cultural memes, it's going to be things that you're going to see everywhere else. And he's going to be late to the table, which is fine. I think with people who pay attention to politics, you're looking at where the battleground is for memes and for culture. And so they're probably ahead of the curve. So yeah, I would say he's probably rehashing something we've already thought about or talked about, or a lot of people have.
Well, let's see what people who are on the cutting edge of the political curve, both the social media and the political curve, someone who has a better finger on the pulse, Charlie Kirk, he just made a video that I thought had a very similar title to Asmongold's, and maybe that's what inspired Asmongold to make this video about the so-called vibe shift that has occurred. I'm calling it the Great American Vibe Shift meme, because this is something that even Vice has commented on in the last 4 months, but we'll get to that in a moment. Just wanted to, get this Kirk video going so that we can talk about it a little bit. So, Xfala, I think you have your finger on that.
Sorry, hold on. Where am I? Let's go.
This last weekend, Donald Trump went to go claim what was his. He went back to Madison Square Garden, which of course was his major rally before the end of the campaign, to a UFC fight, of course hosted by Dana White, and he was joined by his Avengers squad. He was joined by Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard,
that's
Bobby
so funny.
Kennedy.
He's
joined by the squad that is going to help take
pause
back
that for
America,
just a second,
and we are here to help them every single step of the way.
I feel like everyone simultaneously started referring to Trump's entourage, i.e. his new cabinet, as the Avengers Squad. Like, I've been calling it that because I just had no other way to describe it. And I don't think I've ever heard Charlie Kirk refer. I mean, I'm sure he has been referring to it as the Avengers Squad for some time. But that's so funny because it's like, that is the organic meme sense of it. Like the fact that you look at the Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. Why don't we just throw Mayor Eric Adams into it? Because he kind of seems to support Trump too. Like all these, unconventional types that you wouldn't expect to be supporting a Republican. Throw them all together because they have base viewpoints and stuff like that. You're creating this this new party, this MAGA party, and you have no other words to describe it other than calling it an Avenger Squad. I think that is kind of funny. You know,
I'll go into one of the organic factors that go into naming them the Avengers. The Avengers were mutants. And you look at Kennedy Jr., RFK Kennedy Jr., he mutated from bleeding heart liberal to like base conservative. And I don't care. He's going to say, I'm not a base conservative, but bro, you're MAGA, you're Maha. So you've mutated. You've gone from where you were to something new. And this is part of the vibe shift. You know, things are mutating and shifting.
They're having their superhero origin stories. Yeah, keep playing that. I want to see what he has to say.
Gotcha.
The longer cut, but it's worth it. This is Donald Trump entering like a conquering general back to the Coliseum. This is Donald Trump entering.
I sent you that too in text.
Vanquished his enemies to roaring
no doubt,
applause.
Chad.
Play cut 1.
We can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States. He will be going back to the White House.
I will fight for you, for your family, and your future with every breath in my body. We're never going to stop fighting for you, for your dreams, for the future of your children. We're going to lead the greatest comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
Oh, wait, hold on. We got to see this big part.
God spared my life for a reason, to restore America to greatness. Together we can truly make America great again.
Whew.
Shoo!
That looks so good.
Now, most of that was a campaign video that Dana repurposed.
That looks so good when it was up above the fight stage. It looked like the Emperor had returned.
And this was shown at UFC 309 as Donald Trump enters.
It really was the Overton window.
Understand the cultural realignment that we're living through right now. In what world a decade
Chad
ago
knows.
would a Republican candidate in 2014, a Republican candidate and president-elect would enter UFC with roaring applause? Donald Trump has completely remade the Republican Party, and it doesn't stop there. With winning the popular vote and this kind of national sigh of relief, it is an ongoing celebration at UFC and then also on NFL Sunday. Let's just play cut 5 as I continue to narrate.
I love this.
The Trump dance is going viral from John Jones to Brock Bowers.
As we just did in our last stream.
The NFL.
Go check out that stream if you want to see us Trump dance for like 2 minutes.
I just think it's hilarious that Donald Trump has not just realigned the Republican Party, but he has realigned the YMCA dance.
That's the amazing thing, Kalen.
You know, and I'm just
not only has MAGA a message, a slogan, but it's got a little motion to it. It's got, people know now that this is part of MAGA. So great,
Yeah, I mean, he's saying some really some good truth right there too. That it's realigned the YMCA dance, because now it's like, what is the official dance? I think it's probably the Trump dance. You can no longer do the motions. You got to do these motions. You got to kind of do the Johnny Bravo monkey. But yeah, I want to see more about what Asmongold's saying, because he's approaching this from a different level. He's kind of talking about the meta conversation that maybe he thinks can be more like approachable from a Gen Z standpoint. Let's see.
You can see this in YouTube comments. You can see this in comment sections of any game or like any video. I think that in general, you're just seeing a massive backlash against what people believe to be authoritarian levels of compelled thought and compelled speech. And big surprise, where did compelled thought and compelled speech come from? Where's the genesis of that recently? Definitely from COVID. And I think collectively, the government and the social media websites, the way that they handled people that were dissenters during COVID, the way that they handled that caused a schism in the trust of the people into the government, into these companies, into anything. And I don't think that disconnect is really going to be mended.
When you're 85 years old on your deathbed, you're not going to wish you had fewer.
Oh no. I don't want to get copyright strike.
From an ad?
It can happen. Oh, sorry. Wow, I really fucked that up.
is people would be hearing, oh, well, it's going to take 2 years, or sorry, not 2 years, excuse me, that's actually what it did take, 2 weeks to stop the spread, and just wear a mask, this will solve it, just take your vaccine, this will solve it. And I think that the messaging for COVID in general was very authoritarian in many cases, and I think that also there were countries besides the United States that were even more authoritarian with how they handled COVID. And because of that, guess what happened? You had a lot of people who were like, yeah, this is fucking bullshit, we don't believe this, and we want to be able to think for ourselves. And when they did that on social media, they got in trouble. Now, you can think that that's a good thing, or you can think it's a bad thing. I'm not really going to try to convince you one way or another, but I think that really the big shift for that was COVID is what really started building up that resentment. And then
I mean, I don't disagree with anything he's saying. I just feel like not just me, but like a lot of people were saying this for so long, and it was falling on deaf ears. And now Asmongold is basically summarizing, I guess, like to an audience who probably is maybe just catching up, to what's been going on, and they need like some sort of explanation.
Let's be honest. Maybe the people who experienced COVID back then were 12. Who are watching him, and maybe they're in high school now.
Oh man, I just got Patrick's watching our stream right now. What's up, Patrick?
What's up,
Patrick? I'm giving him the itch with my nicotine habit. But yeah, no, I think that he's giving it in a very sort of like filtered out way. He's saying things that conservatives have been saying ever since COVID began, and he's maybe it's becoming clearer to some people who haven't found out yet, the truth about why.
Well, I mean,
this pivot.
I think elections and politics are cutting edge culture, and they're kind of the main meme that. Yeah, it's like that. That is a vibe. It's a vibe check. It's not a vibe shift when you have an election. And people afterwards, they maybe are surprised, if they're not paying attention to what the debates are about, they're maybe surprised by the outcome. And so now you have people like Asmongold who are like diving into the result of that vibe, that election result, trying to figure out what it's about. So, I mean, it's good to have those conversations, even though I'm not going to have them now.
Yeah, and I think that whatever is happening, I think that this has been tracked. I mean, people who were really paying attention to the possibility that Trump was coming back, and if they were true believers that it was going to happen, like I kind of said from the beginning, anyone who knows, who talked to me during the election, I went back and forth like a seesaw every week. But from the very beginning, I had a bet with somebody. I said I would perm my hair if Kamala Harris won, or it was back whenever Biden. So I had this bet back whenever Biden was still around, and it was a serious bet. It was with a friend and a colleague of mine, and so what happens to him now?
You're gonna perm your hair if what? I want to hear what what I missed out on.
Yeah, I was just gonna get a perm, and so I was gonna have curly hair.
If what?
If Joe Biden or Kamala Harris won, if the Democratic candidate won
in 24,
yeah, that was my bet.
We could have had Fro Kalen right now.
Yeah, you could have had me with a fro. Yeah.
Well, maybe we can bet on something else.
I mean, I'm feeling really bullish right now. I've what was my other bet that I wanted to make? It wasn't about Matt Gaetz. I didn't bet too hard on that Attorney General pick. But there was the one thing I wanted to show you guys, the Vice documentary that was made about 4 months ago, called "The Changing Vibe Among Young Conservatives." It's probably a little different than the subject that we've been talking about as far as vibes, but I think this could also instruct how we got here, because there was a vibe shift among conservatives, and I think that is what led us to be more of a big tent. And just the fact that a lot of things were pushed back on this time around, we still don't support abortion, but we weren't as pro-life in the sense that we weren't wearing it on our sleeve. I say we as in the party and its pillar sort of values that it was trying to portray. So let's see what Vice said about this.
We're walking into the American Economic Forum, not exactly a rowdy Trump rally. This is where young people who like reading policy briefs go. You know, if you want to understand the ideas that could reshape conservatism in our country, this is where you come.
More working class voters are ditching the Democrat Party. It turns out that working class Hispanics also don't like open borders, inflation, and gender ideology.
Across the U.S., tens of thousands of voters are flocking to the Republican Party. And many Gen Z and millennial intellectuals are capitalizing on that by reframing what it means to be conservative with the help of former Trump officials. This is not the old Republican establishment of corporate tax cuts and fighting terrorism. Instead, these guys are talking shit about wars overseas and big banks.
Wall Street's like oxygen. You're going to die without it, but you can die of too much of it too. And we have overdone it.
This departure from the GOP establishment is fueled by the economic concerns of young Americans who have seen housing and college prices skyrocket. Who are you guys? Who's making up this movement?
Angry Americans.
Angry Americans.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be as wealthy or successful as my parents. Most people won't be my age. We can't afford homes. We see people who are taking advantage of the system.
One of the most popular guys here is Nate Hochman. He's just 24, and his widespread political writing has made him a kind of influencer for the brain.
What's the quick dump on him?
He was a Trump supporter. Once the primary started, he pivoted toward DeSantis, and he got fired working for DeSantis because he was blamed
early on.
Before
this was all early on, obviously.
Well, actually, no. This is kind of like, I mean, he had been established. I was just talking more about the last 6 months or so. Mm-hmm. But like before all that, I mean, he's just been a young writer who's been really kind of influential as far as like giving a Gen Z voice to conservatism.
How did you find out who he was or come across him?
Just through different networks, and a lot of my friends are friends with him. So I've actually never had an encounter with him. But it would be
Think
interesting.
We could get him on the Meme Ranch?
Perhaps, yeah. I could probably reach out to some people.
That would be a good podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rainier side of this movement.
Hey, dude. How you doing?
Tonight, he's grabbing drinks with buddies, some of whom, like him, grew up in liberal households and have become more conservative than their parents.
Well, okay, you're kind of breaking the fourth wall with me here because this was my life for a better part of a couple years ago. So
really,
yeah. So I've been to a lot of these. I mean, I'm probably sharing too much right now. So it's not.
Was it not your thing, or like did you just move on?
I just kind of moved on. Like I don't need this anymore. Like I have a job. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So
one of the really valuable things that Trump did in 2016 was to completely bust open the horizons of possibility for what it meant to be conservative. What do conservatives care about? The family, social cohesion, and how do we actually use economics, for example, or a cultural agenda to serve those ends?
Like promoting paid family leave?
Paid family leave, child tax credits, right? Like a variety of ways to sort of organize a kind of conservative welfare state.
And is it fair to say, like, you see the value in some government regulation that can create sort of like economic equality?
Sure, yeah. I would probably use a different word than equality, but economic sort of broad-based prosperity.
But is the old guard going to get on board with that? Like, that's what I have trouble sort of believing.
Probably not. But there's a real desire to sort of retire a lot of those people.
Paid family leave and child tax credits sound pretty liberal. But for young conservatives like Nate, they're a way to support a socially conservative agenda.
I think everyone here more or less probably supports a ban on abortion, but they also understand that a point that the left makes is that banning abortion isn't going to stop women from having abortions outright. If you really want to end abortion in America, it has to be building an entire infrastructure that supports children and families more than I think American policy does.
Good point.
Yeah. I spent time with,
the point,
very practical.
The point that he's making is a point that I've made for a long time now. Like I've made this argument, time and time again, and it fell on a lot of deaf ears, So it was only in the last few years, I think, that people finally started to wake up to this. I think I have to give credit to the works of like writing from like fathers and writers like Tim Carney. He's someone I think who really understands that the solution to the father crisis, or just absent parent crisis, is to provide support networks for raising kids so that it's not as daunting. So what Nate Hochman here is sort of peddling the message that I think more Gen X conservatives have been sort of trying to they've been trying to get that message out there to younger people, because they're still kind of young, older millennials, Gen X, who are kind of just trying to pass a message along to
Still
the
parents, maybe some of them.
Yeah.
One thing
families who have trans.
Hold on. One thing I want to add to that is the reason I think this conversation is ringing true with people is probably more or less because of the overturn of Roe versus Wade. Because now we have to have other conversations about that. We can't just be like, oh, well, it's legal to do this. Well, now it's not necessarily in every place. So what now? Yeah.
That's kind of where we're going. I mean, and I think that there's a lot of New Deal supporters in the conservative movement now, like the paleo conservative, and that was a very liberal plan for its time. You understand, like the New Deal, was like a series of domestic programs, public works projects, financial reforms, things like that. And I think that what we saw with the New Deal was a template for something that has now become like people need to look toward that whenever we're in times of crisis that need to be addressed. There's so many different variables at play. What could be a solution is something like a modern day New Deal to fill in the erosion that's happened in our society through things that we've just allowed ourselves to expand our freedoms into things that harm us. And so how can we put back the guardrails on the things that aren't good for society at large, and provide some incentive to retreat from more harmful ways of living. And when I say harm, I mean I speak very broadly, but we can put abortion in that category as well.
Sure.
Just for speaking less vague. So yeah, I mean this is I think this is a good documentary that Vice has made, and I'm surprised honestly, because I didn't expect anything great to be coming from Vice around in 2024. But I mean, I'm not going to call it great per se, but I mean it's definitely
it's got a good start to it.
Yeah. What happened to that, by the way? I just had that tab open and now it's gone. Okay.
I don't know.
Kids in Texas, they're part of the working class. Do those families not count in the policies that you're talking about?
Well, all families count. We want to support families. I think the debate over the transgender issue, which is obviously incredibly fraught right now, has to do with this radical shift in the culture over the last 5 years or so, where we have really, really rapidly shifted our understanding of what gender means.
I keep meeting young people.
That's fucking
who
gay.
are
We've really rapidly shifted. Like, who's we? Like, that's
I think he's talking about his generation, maybe. Your generation.
Yeah, like the we in that sense, I think, is talking about society at large. But like, we need to say kind of no to that type of like when we say we should say we normal people have not done that, and we can backtrack based on things like he should be mentioning here, if he's talking about this sort of foresight planning, mention the amount of lawsuits over the harm that's caused from minor transitions, because that's gonna eventually be a wrecking ball against that whole ideology.
But you realize it's a documentary. They could have left that out. Who knows how they edited all his answers.
Normally liberal, who grew up in that environment, who are now turning to this movement. Why is that?
You have a lot of people who have genuine and legitimate concerns about any number of aspects of left-wing cultural pieties, who know that they will encounter serious social consequences and stigma for even gingerly broaching a lot of these topics around race, gender, sex.
And many of those young people are now going to podcasts and YouTube to find more skeptical perspectives across the political spectrum.
Using the kind of ideas and motifs of cancel culture, that we can't have open, fair discussions around race, gender, sexuality.
And in the more conservative corners, the phrase woke is everywhere.
Corporate America's embrace of wokeness.
The woke indoctrination. Not even the military is immune these days from all this wokeness.
It started as a phrase for Black political consciousness. It's now become a catch-all term for liberal culture issues related to gender and race. And one media company has gone all in on these.
They make it sound like it's the conservatives that did that, but it's really the liberal, progressive culture and corners of the internet that started taking woke and using it in that form.
Yeah, they skipped over a development stage because, you know, like it kind of hit its apex with like the Childish Gambino, you know, lyrics, you know, like where
This Is America.
Or yeah, where it's like, you know, stay woke. And
Maxine
you know,
Waters, I remember Maxine Waters just yelling, "Stay woke, stay woke," and it was like, okay, well that's their war cry.
Yeah, I mean, because there's like, I don't want to like sound freaking, you know, insufferable about it, but I'm pretty sure there was like an earlier, like, was it like the 90s, like 80s, 90s, like it could have been like in like the last decade, not last decade, but last century, whenever people started using the term woke in different ways. Like it's not necessarily as new as people might imagine, but that's like its earliest inception is like it's like purest form, which did have a lot to do with you know, the strifes of, you know, African Americans and things like that. And then in the like 2010s era with like that was whenever the bastardization kind of began, where it was just like, you know, woke became just catch-all for like being like an ally, you know, for the left, like you're saying, like the TV personalities screaming it. That's whenever it really started to degrade, and it was that degradation that paved the way for conservatives to start using it as a pejorative.
Well, they claimed it first as their rallying cry. So when the culture started souring, it became a pejorative. I think it wasn't like the conservatives said, "Well, we're going to flip it." I think they just saw the result of what was happening and just called it what it was.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like, oh, you call this whatever you're talking about like woke? Okay, then
that's terrible.
Yeah, then we'll just refer to it like you refer to it. You know, like this is woke. You know, like.
Judo move.
Is this woke? Like
right.
Issues. We're at PragerU, which is a group that finds young talent and develops them into conservative influencers that rack up millions of views. And when you're walking through the offices, you know, you're seeing like a lot of 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 25-year-olds. It's a super young employee base. They target young people online who are dipping their toes in conservative waters.
Hi, everybody.
Radio host Dennis Prager founded it more than 10 years ago.
It's so funny. Whenever I saw that Abraham Lincoln picture
with the shades,
I was like, I feel like that has something to do with Dennis Prager. Like,
really?
Yeah, I got that vibe. I've never even seen that before.
Conservative waters.
Hi, everybody.
Radio host Dennis Prager founded it more than 10 years ago, and CEO Marissa Streit helped grow it. While it's not an actual university, it's a hub for conservative content that's helped build influencers like Candace Owens. Their goal? To get their message anywhere young people consume content. Their sleek videos capture Gen Z eyeballs on Instagram and YouTube.
There is a big difference between
their
mild
sleek
global
videos
warming
capture Gen Z eyeballs on YouTube. She said that so robotically.
She's reading from a script.
Catastrophic global warming.
Some feel more academic. Others are flashy, catering perfectly to teenagers.
We merge these older ideas, these conservative ideas, with a youthful audience and a youthful staff that knows how to bring it to young people. And that's really the secret sauce behind PragerU.
PragerU's funding, mostly from conservative donors, went from $11 million in 2017 to $55 million last year. they're now investing in their youngest viewers.
What happened in her homeland that made Ayn Rand need to escape and move to the USA?
The rise of communism.
That is correct. It was the communist.
We've really widened the type of content that we make. So now we start making content for 4-year-olds all the way to 104 years old. We bring alternative solutions and perspectives on things. Every time the left claims that the right is a journey into the future of Handmaid's Tale here in America, is when we garner a
sit through the interviewer. He's like, oh God, get me out of here.
larger audience.
What role does, PragerU organizations like this play in this sort of new conservatism?
Incubator. We can identify young, talented individuals, and we can turn them into new role models for our society.
We got to see this first. Is a term that is a beloved one in this whole cultural concept, creating cultural concepts through dollars and curation.
Incubator was huge in Silicon Valley way back. It still is.
Mm-hmm. Hand as Marissa and her staff judged eager Zoomers vying to be PragerU's next star.
I think I would make a wonderful PragerU personality because I've really been on the front lines the past 3 years on this college campus. I've been
I can't believe they let them
conservative content over there.
Okay, this
where's
really
AOC's?
good.
Where's AOC's?
I can't believe they let them see this part of the process.
I don't understand why they did this.
Yeah, why would they? I guess they went in the name of transparency.
For like a year and a half now, and I've been banned 9 times.
I don't quite understand her story, like her personal story. She talked a little bit about being banned, but everybody's being banned.
Yeah, it's great when they have the story that
was so good. this oh my god, this feels like a fucking Truman Show thing, where it's like you're seeing this is such a sausage process this is really good. Just the level of seriousness that she took that response.
I can just imagine the documentary crew going, "Oh my God, they're saying all this on camera for us."
Oh my gosh.
Right? They won, but it's not always an immediate deal breaker because we can build it out of them. So.
It seems like the fastest way to stardom here is getting ostracized by liberals, aka canceled, or disillusioned by left-wing politics. And that's exactly what happened to Amla Ekpunobi, a 22-year-old who up until a few years ago was a liberal teen activist. After posting videos on social about her new conservative views, she went viral and caught Marissa's eye.
We're talking Kiki Palmer, gender theory, 4-year-old trans kid.
Yo, what up guys? Unapologetic Live. I'm your host, Amla Ekpunobi. Taylor's in the producer's bay. Is a new army school getting real woke?
What is it about that sort of woke generation or woke movement that drives you nuts?
The fact that it just takes people and boils them down to their really superficial life.
Yes. Oh my god, yes. It's gonna be a whole
so I'm waiting for somebody to get slimed here.
Oh yeah, Nickelodeon for MAGA hit the nail on the head. Wow. Yeah, it's so weird because it's true. They do have a solid operation. There's not a single there's not a single person in this documentary that they've shown. Like this girl is an example. Where it's I have seen her videos just organically on my feed before.
You have? I haven't seen her yet.
Organically, as in I don't really follow her, but she just pops up.
Right.
Yeah, this is
identity characteristics. So much of my work when I was on the left was just revolving around my race, being a female. It completely dictated everything I did as a young person. So now that I'm seeing other young people who are being subjected to the same narrative that I got, I go hard on that one just to try and help and give a different perspective that maybe saves them from believing that victimhood mentality.
And what would be an example of a video that you would do on one of those subjects?
I could talk about how affirmative action harms everybody. What you are doing is essentially fixing past discrimination with present discrimination And the people who are non-people of color watching these people get to look at them and go, well, I don't know if she got that job because of who she is or because of what she's done. And it sows seeds of mistrust all over.
How do you think this kind of new wave of young conservatism will change the political landscape?
I just think we're going to see a lot more young people come to conservatism before they come to progressivism. The only reason that people don't do that now is because they have an idea of what it means to be a conservative. That's not true at all.
While the culture wars often seem pretty ridiculous, they do tap into the anger folks feel toward people they see as, quote, elite. There's a real shift that shows Democrats have started to do way better among folks with a college degree than without one. Thomas Frank has written extensively on the shift among Democrats in the 80s, from being a party of the working class to a party of the highly educated. Young people are the lowest hanging fruit for liberals, or they should be. But where are liberals kind of screwing up to where some of these young people aren't?
You know, I am a liberal, right? And I vote for Democrats, and I'm pretty far to the left, right? And there came a point when I got sick of righteousness. I got fucking sick of righteousness. I couldn't stand it anymore.
What specifically was it?
You know those yard signs that would say, "In this house we believe."
Oh my God.
And then they have a list of causes.
Wow, he's talking about the meme right now.
Yeah, and an interesting thing here is he's obviously of the boomer age or late Gen X, but he calls it righteousness. It's called woke in the current form. It's just an interesting way you can look at that meme. It has rebranded.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like that he's calling it righteousness because that's what it is, like in its truest sense. Like woke is just I don't know, like it means nothing to me in the sense of like what I'm trying to describe. Like is this guy? Because it would be like righteous for you to be like in this house, like we only I don't know. It's like if you're a Christian, you know, you have traditions and things like that you don't feel the need to like share like on your front porch, you know, stuff like that. But it's like you're so insecure as a Democrat and want people to think you're not racist that you like have a sign on your.
Well, the boomers were so busy back as they got older, as they grew into adulthood, talking about righteousness, and
it is righteous to have a sign like that. That sign inherently means, hey everyone, hey world, I am not a racist. You know what I mean? And it's like most people just expect that you aren't one. You know what I mean? So the fact like that you feel righteous enough that you feel like I'm such a pure gentle soul that like I have the audacity to wear it with pride whenever it's just something that you don't even have to share. It's like it's expected that you treat other people with respect. So it's like if you have to like pat yourself on the back that you like treat people with respect, then something's off about that.
The point I want to make about righteousness, though, I remember this as a child, righteousness being a thing, is they got into power. These people who always were saying it's not righteous, you know, we want to be righteous. Well, they get into power, and it devolves. It debases itself from being righteous to being woke, because no longer is it about being righteous or being tied to something important that we can all agree on. And now it's just about what I say. You know, these are the rules. You know, don't worry about being righteous. The rules are this. And the rules might change, but it's about being woke now.
Right. I think, yeah, it's like like in his mind, he disagrees with nothing that's said on that sign. But I think that he's
still in the righteous mode. That's why he doesn't like it.
Right.
Because now it's about being woke, and that has nothing to do with being righteous. I guess is my point. Anyway.
Yeah.
Like science.
Science is real is one of them. Black Lives Matter is one of them. I would look at these signs and I'd be like, why do these signs irritate me? I agree with everything on them. And I thought about it for a while, and I'm like, because they've left one cause out. And that's anything having to do with labor. Anything having to do with work. Anything having to do with economics. Look, this liberalism has evolved into a movement of scolding that just absolutely rubs people the wrong way. That's not how you build a movement. You don't just exclude people off the bat for being wrong. I mean, that's very satisfying, but it's poison to a left-wing movement.
It's that poison feels like it's everywhere, and maybe that's media, maybe it's not. But there are a lot of people being canceled. There are a lot of people being scolded, and I wonder where those people are going.
I mean, they're going to one of two places. They become apolitical, or if the conservative movement is smart, they'll make a place for them. What we are missing in this country is a traditional working class left. And so what fills that space?
MAGA.
Well, one thing is the culture wars.
Young political stars like Ron DeSantis and J.D. Vance are now on the road testing talking points. The formula for now is to take on big business in the name of culture, to make more Americans see the culture wars as crucial for the country's survival.
Kind of a stupid...
Thank you.
Kind of a stupid angle she.
We do not have to live like this. We do not have to let the Chinese steal our manufacturing base.
Not a calculus.
We do not have to let the farm.
It's not a calculus. It's a genuine, authentic desire. We're not sitting around saying, "I want to take on big business." Big business does no longer represent its customer. It represents some sort of global conglomerate of shareholders or stakeholders.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, they're missing the point on that completely.
Yeah, I mean, I think the party just decided it wanted to actually win for once. With Michael Whatley in charge, I think that, and Laura Trump, I think that what we're seeing is a teaming up of the MAGA movement, which is in and of itself, it's like, it's something that is natural and craved by large amounts of people in the nation. Like, that's something that you can't fake. You can't, create bot accounts and upvote it. It has to be something that people genuinely want. And what the Republicans have done is they've seized on that. They've leaned into it, whereas Democrats have leaned away from the working, man and things like that. And I think that is, a fatal mistake that they're reaping the consequences for. We're merging. The Republican Party has just been willing to sort of lower its threshold like a little bit. Like they've stopped being the wine and dine people, and they've started being the like open up the table.
Yeah, the hillbilly elegy is Veep.
Yeah,
that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Pharmaceutical industry force a product on us in order for us to get a job.
No movement would succeed if it didn't have a good reason, if it didn't answer something that was a deep need that people have.
It's all based on this mind virus called woke ideology. That is what's infecting all these different institutions.
Okay, I take back what I said.
What is that link between class war and culture war?
The culture wars are endlessly amusing because they give you this feeling of persecution, that you, the average American, your values are being insulted by TV, and they can be invented constantly.
Dude, that's what righteous was all about.
In the classroom. We will fight woke in businesses. We will fight woke in government agencies. We're not going to surrender to woke. We are going to stand and we're going to keep our country free.
He just goes on to describe exactly what being righteous was all about, but he says it's a bad thing when it comes to the right. I don't know, it's still
wait, he was calling the liberal signs righteous.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think honestly what he probably meant was like self-righteous. I think because like he was not giving them a compliment. Like he was not like he might agree with like what's said on the signs, but I think what his point was is that it is not cool. Like it's not hip to do that because you just sound like you're really fun at parties. You know what I mean? It's like you just sound like you got a stick up your ass about something.
He agreed with the content of the sign. He didn't like the delivery. He thought it was too scolding.
Yeah, too scolding. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I think that that comes from a place of righteousness, and righteous in it of itself, like the definition just means that, you know, it's right, or it's like, you know, you think you're right. So righteous in the context of like your worldview versus my worldview, it's like I think that righteous is not always right, but it's coming from a place of thinking one is right, you know. I don't know. I hope I'm not incorrect with that definition, but I think that's right. Maybe that's righteous, you know, to think that.
I mean, I just remember it was in the movies. It was in the culture. I used it as a child, as a Gen X child.
Yeah, it's like it literally means morally right or justifiable. But
no, I also use words like wicked and radical. You know,
righteous.
Gag me. Gnarly.
Tubular.
Gnarly. So righteous, you know, it was it meant to try and be like, that's it to me. I'll just kind of end it on this. It meant like when you hear people like Joe Rogan or Kennedy, RFK Jr., say that liberals used to be the good ones, or they used to be the kind, cool ones, which they never really were, but that was their brand. And to be like that meant you were righteous because your head and your heart were in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you were going to sum it up, it was just like you were kind of with it. You were cool. You're about Earth Day. You're about you know, I would say the pill, abortion not so much, but you know, free sex. You could have said that was righteous. So it wasn't really about.
He's basically saying that by today's standards, with the changing vibe, it's
changing
too,
vibe.
It's too righteous for the room. Like no one's that righteous anymore, you know.
Yeah. So anyway, it's gone woke, and everything that goes woke goes to shit.
The woke mind virus is being slain. Maybe we'll see how 2028 goes. Republicans have to work hard and prove their place, I think, as the new alternative for people. So that'll be something that we'll be keeping an eye on. And yeah, I think that about
yeah, those were good. So I'll sum it up real quick. I think the American vibe shift is post the election, and it is definitely on the younger side, more conservative side, more MAGA oriented. That's where people's heads are at.
Stay MAGA, not woke.